Good afternoon and welcome. We are very pleased to be running this event this afternoon, Discovering the Future of Best Practice Development around Western Sydney, brought to you by the Sustainability Advantage Program, by the Responsible Construction Leadership Group, and of course the Supply Chain Sustainability School, but of course very kindly hosted by the John Holland Group Country Regional Network, so a big thank you to them. My name is Robin Mellon. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Supply Chain Sustainability School. I know many of you already by sight. If I don't already, please come and say hello at one of the breaks. Very glad to see you here this afternoon. We have Twitter handles up for everyone. I'm not quite sure how many regular Twitterers we have, but if you are, please feel free, fire away at any stage during the afternoon. I'm going to be doing a bit of an introduction, some scene setting and providing a bit of context. We're then going to be talking about some project-based specifics. We'll have Renuka Sabaratnam from John Holland Group talking. We'll have, as I said, during the middle part, some problem-solving questions, which you'll be doing by table, the 6 tables of 6 that we have here. We've then got some materials-focused speakers, so there'll be half an hour of presenting a bit later on, and then some Q&A, a panel session to close off the afternoon. So, I get to start. I get the scene-setting part, which is really talking about the school itself and about the market, what's going on nowadays. Now, many of you will already know about the school, but I get to start by essentially showing you.
Is a completely free resource for everyone working on construction and infrastructure projects, which really helps you climb the career ladder. We've got a ton of videos, e-learning modules, documents, descriptions of things, and recommended websites, with more added each and every month. Sustainability isn't only about earth-saving, tree-hugging, hipster thinking, although that's part of it. It's also about working smarter and using less, which means lower costs and more benefits. It's about following a career pathway without working yourself into an early grave. And it's free because these guys are backing it. They've got a pretty good idea where the industry's going, and they know they need people with sustainability skills for them to stay ahead of the game. To get yourself skilled up, just visit supplychainschool.org.au and sign up for free. We know that training can be difficult to fit in, so we've split all our courses into chunks to make them easy to tick off at your own pace. The simple online self-assessment will let you know what courses are most relevant for you, which could be on energy, water, materials, procurement, or anything else for that matter. And then it's up to you to get the job done on your own terms. Completing 1 unit a month will have you well ahead of the game before you can say Supply Chain Sustainability School 10 times fast. Supply Chain Sustainability School, Supply Chain... You get the idea.
The Supply Chain Sustainability School. Free sustainability skills to boost your career, help you win jobs, and make you stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, what he said. Oh, and you get to help the planet too, so that's a good thing.
Every single time I asked them to make the bearded hipster look less like me, they made it more like me, and so I stopped asking by the end. One of the things that I wanted to try and communicate this afternoon in this scene setting is really the broadening of the word, the discussion, the conversation around sustainability. I've just spent 9 years at the Green Building Council of Australia, which were wonderful. It was really a very fast-paced part of the industry. And what I saw there was how sustainability broadened just over those years from originally possibly quite a narrow environmental focus, kilos of carbon, tons of waste, litres of water, to much broader senses and looking at things like governance and livability. That started the social sustainability conversation, as we've seen in Green Star communities, has been really refreshing. Similarly, within the infrastructure sustainability tools and the ISCA work, yes, of course, things like resources, emissions, pollution are in there. But again, there's that broadening to the sense of people and place, to the sense of innovation. And that's a really exciting part of the sustainability conversation. Similarly, you can look at tools like the Living Building Challenge. And again, this broadens it even further. We're looking at things like beauty and inspiration and the place of those within buildings, within communities, as well as those more traditional materials, water, energy type components. And then again, I'm sorry if that's quite small for people sitting at the back, but the principles of One Planet Living, again around carbon and waste and transport, but broadening to culture, to heritage, to equity, health and happiness. So again, that much broader sense. I'm going to be asking a few questions. You will need to stay on your toes during this first part of this afternoon anyway. Anyone have any ideas? How many people are estimated to be in modern slavery around the world today? Anything. I will take any figures at this stage. 250 million. Not quite that high. 45.8 million people in global slavery around the world. Good guess, Alice. I'm impressed.
You sure you haven't read a few articles?
This is twice the population of Australia in modern slavery and in different forms of slavery around the world. And I'm really glad to see that the sustainability conversation is broadening to include factors like this, such as the people within our supply chains. And talking to big, small, medium-sized companies around Australia, we are kidding ourselves if we think that our supply chains are not touching modern slavery. We are, down there bottom right, we are at the epicenter. Our supply chains spread across possibly the area with the most prevalence of global slavery. The UK government, as you heard from Sean McCarthy, who was here recently, he's head of the UK Supply Chain Sustainability School, and he was here in May. The UK government brought in last year the Modern Slavery Act 2015, which is essentially requiring companies of all sizes to take the responsibility to demonstrate that slavery has no part of their supply chains. And then we have the Sustainable Development Goals. I was talking yesterday with Alice Cope from the UN Global Compact. These are becoming embedded into more and more sustainability plans, more and more tools around the country. And although perhaps all 17 of these are not relevant to the work that you do, we can boil it down to these 8. And these are 8 really critical factors in the way that the sustainability conversation will unfold in this country. And then possibly the last of my references, the COP21 discussions going on in Paris late last year. These were great. The Paris Agreement was inspiring, but I'm sorry, that's way down the screen for everyone at the back. But it boils it down to 3 things. Firstly, we need to limit global warming to a maximum, not a target, but a maximum of 2 degrees. Secondly, we need to look at zero net greenhouse emissions after 2050, but ideally, aiming for a 1.5 degree maximum, we need to be seeing zero net emissions between 2030 and 2050. That's all very well, but very few people, myself included, can really make that connection between zero net global emissions and what we do every single day in our jobs. That will require, say, a 2 degree limit, 2 degree maximum. That will require a 2 degree Australian economy. That will require 2 degree supply chains, maximum 2 degree supply chains. And in turn, that will require 2 degree projects, 2 degree pieces of infrastructure, 2 degree portfolios. And so part of what we're going to unpick this afternoon is what does that begin to look like? What does better? What does that 1.5 to 2 degree supply chain look like when you come to real life projects? And the critical question that we need to start asking, what does net zero look like for a major site, a major development, a major piece of infrastructure? So just to tie this back together, sustainability, yes, is those economic factors, is doing smarter business, using resources efficiently, is the social factors, looking after people that we've just been outlining here, the environmental factors, and not just doing less bad, but eliminating the negative factors. And then spreading into those ethical and those risk management factors as well that sustainability is coming to mean. And I would boil it down to this one question, which is the conversation I'm having with small and medium-sized businesses across the country. Will my business still exist in 5 to 10 years' time? That is the essence of sustainability. Do I have a sustainable business model? Am I managing the external and internal risks properly? A few quick questions. What percentage of your company's expenditure goes to your supply chains? Anyone?
Around 70% in Hollands and others.
So John Holland's around 70%, yep.
Of our spend, yep.
11% in the case of Edge, yep. Typically, 70%. Typically in producers, manufacturers, larger businesses, that's going to be 70 to 80%. But of course, when you have consultancies, when you have a different mix, there's no one right answer. But it's a massive proportion of most companies' expenditures. How many companies are there in your supply chain? thousands. In the case of large projects, so Northwest Rapid Transit, Northwest Rail Link, 3,500 plus. So there may well be thousands throughout your supply chain. And a binary, a yes/no question, can you tell me which countries your supply chain touches? Most organizations haven't a clue, and this is a yes/no. This is not even a list them, please. And this question, which I've been, I was in Perth last week, I was in Darwin 2 weeks ago. What's the number one concern for Australian small businesses? It is getting paid. And part of having a sustainable business model is, can you be paid in less than 100 days past your terms? And so meeting in a couple of weeks with the Australian Small Business and Family Enterprise Ombudsman to look at the range of resources that we can offer to small and medium-sized businesses to truly provide them with a sustainable business model. Because yes, that's about using resources, but that's also about being able to operate a small business wisely. So over the next 5 years, we're going to see, yes, an increase on risk management. We're going to see changing regulations around all sorts of things from toxins and products to materials. We're going to see new international standards. And the ISO 20400, the Sustainable Procurement Standard, which is going to be introduced early next year, is currently being refined. And as ever, we're going to see new technologies, new materials. It's a constantly evolving sector. Nobody is expecting you to be across all of this, and this is what I keep reassuring people. It's not a case of now you know nothing and now you know everything. But it is a case of taking small steps, of taking frequent steps, and setting a medium-term goal. This is where we want to be. This is the level of knowledge that we want to have. What can you do about this right now? Well, that's where, of course, the Supply Chain Sustainability School comes in, but also the speakers that we have lined up this afternoon. From Responsible Construction Leadership Group to Good Environmental Choice Australia is getting informed about all of these issues. The school launched in March last year with 11 founding partners. EY, Ernst & Young, is hosting the school. We have passed 650 members already across 445 unique companies. And our founding partners, our key partners, we couldn't exist without them, not just financially, but in terms of knowledge, in terms of the knowledge in the room. There is one chair just middle back and one chair up at the front, so pick your way forward. But all of the knowledge that we are putting out there is focused around our 10 key sustainability themes. Those are, of course, listed on our website. I would hope and expect all of you to be registered already. But the knowledge is focused around these 10 themes, which you'll notice echo those Sustainable Development Goals, the One Planet Living principles, all of those that I showed you earlier. There's over 260 resources already on our website, and we are adding to them week by week. Of course, this afternoon will be going up there as one of the resources as well. And we are there, just to remind you, to complement what already exists, not to compete, to provide bottom-up education for the small businesses throughout your supply chains, and to offer free, not paid resources, to essentially underpin what already exists, to provide those basic building blocks of sustainability knowledge, which then feeds into Green Star or infrastructure sustainability training. And then you can go on and get more focused in time with that knowledge. So how do you get started with the school? It's a case of registering, filling in the form online, creating an account. It is very simple. You then start a self-assessment and you go through that. It provides you with these questions, which you answer. Very simple, 15, maybe 20 minutes worth of most. And then it provides you with learning resources, a whole range of learning resources for you to do over a month, over 6 months, over a year, but to start taking those steps.